Welcome to our wellness podcast, where we are trying to make wellness accessible and understandable for everyone. And today I'm joined by someone who has multiple professional careers, and finally, I think she has found a place in yoga, and she's recently been excited about that. So, Rimi comes from a technical background where she has served in Intel as a marketing manager, and then she did some stand-up comedy. She does astrology, ayurveda, yoga, and she is a pickleball coach.
I am a pickleball coach.
So welcome, Rimi.
Thank you.
So from Intel to yoga,
Yep.
you have lived so many different professional lives. Share what brought you to yoga
transition.
from.
Sure. So I've worked in high tech actually for many years. So it's been about 15 years.
Oh,
I've worked
wow.
at Apple and Intel and a couple of other small companies in between. And then I did a lot of consulting as well. So it was actually my own. There was a couple of things. So I had witnessed both in corporate. I had seen people who had been there for like 30, 40 years, and I watched how they let their own priorities go, their personal priorities go, and I could see how it physically, mentally, emotionally had impacted. A lot of the conversations were it was very focused, hyper focused on what it was in front of us, and the bigger picture was getting lost. And so the first thing I wanted to try, so I did consulting for a couple of years after I left Intel, and I wanted to try something new. And so the idea was, how do we bring, it wasn't necessarily wellness to begin with, but how do we bring some multi-dimension into the Silicon Valley, type of system that we have right now in place? And so one thought I thought might work was improv. So if you've heard of improvisation, it's basically utilizing these games. They're really fun games in the corporate world, bringing them to team building, et cetera, to try to create multi dimensions within that. And improv doesn't have a very good reputation in corporate, unfortunately. And so I tried to look at other angles. I got my certification in coaching, in life coaching and relationship coaching, because I feel that relationships are just as important in your, not just in your personal relationships, but also within your family, within your career. And then I got my life coaching certification as well. So originally, my focus was on people who were transitioning away from corporate. So people who are retiring but didn't know how to do kind of the nitty gritty administrative work behind that. And then I noticed that there was this other, aspect to it that I thought might help, another dimension to it, which was yoga. So I originally got my yoga teaching certification as a way to understand that holistic wellness side of it. I mean, I already have my background, my personal background, but I thought that it might help to have the anatomy portion of it refreshed and things like that. And I already had a background in biology. I had my minor in biology back in undergrad. So I knew that that would add on to it. So I thought that, this might be a good idea. I just want to make a side note about yoga teacher training in general, is that when I started yoga teacher training, I actually walked into the room with no intention to make friends. So I actually did not want to make friends because I thought, I have a lot of people in my corner in my network. I don't want to make any friends. And I met some of the most loving, sweet, gentle, generous people. And a lot of us said the same thing when we left yoga teacher training, was that we did not come here to make friends. So just a side note about yoga teacher training is that it's so surprising when you're in a group with people and you're, kind of mass receiving information, because especially 200-hour training, it's such a small amount of time, seemingly small amount of time, but there's so much information getting jammed in there that the people that you're with, you're almost like on a ship together. So I just wanted to make that kind of side note as well.
So in 8 limb path of yoga, the second limb is niyamas, which is the rules that we make or follow ourselves. So among niyamas, which one is your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of favorites, but definitely I want to talk about Santosha today because, we're kind of on this theme of kind of switching over and finding things that, help heal and elevate yourself. And so Santosha is an important one because I think that we are, we're kind of provided by society, by gender roles, by all these things. We're provided almost rules that we think we're supposed to follow. And we were just talking about this, can I talk about it?
Yeah.
I was mentioning that I've got a few new gray hairs that I'm super excited about. And we were talking about in society, we feel a little obligated sometimes to cover them up, to, dye them. And I think that, it's time. I think we're at a time right now where people are ready to have those conversations about revisiting those expectations and those status quo, type of like things that society's decided are going to be the way things go. And I think this is really a time for us to observe what is that contentment, that acceptance. I talked about earlier when I talked about yamas is that, the good, bad, whatever we have within us, to accept that and love ourselves for that regardless, right? And it's really easy, even small micro, how do I say it? They used to call it micro inequities in corporate. They used to refer to them as, even the way someone might change their tone when they talk to you, we tend to take that on to ourselves as a set of expectation. And that stops us from feeling this level of happiness when, really we are who we are. And again, if we don't know where we're starting, it's hard to meet those goals. Then we turn around and we tend to, or at least I do, I tend to, beat myself up, and then I give up on that goal. So I would say, the reason why I'm really focusing on Santosha and I'm talking about Satya is because when I know where I'm starting, the point that I'm starting off from, and you talked about earlier when you introduced this wellness podcast, making wellness accessible, it's really important to understand that no matter what level people are at, improvement is always possible.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that Santosha, that's where Santosha comes in, because instead of, either watching, TV or media or whatever, and having this ideal placed upon us and told us that if we are not these ideals, then we have failed.
Yeah.
Instead of, focusing on where we are and saying, hey, you know what? I did better than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
Right.
We have been told all the time, this is how you have to do.
Yes.
So most of the time, whatever we want to do is borrowed. And that's where most of us live a conflicted life.
And we don't even realize it's borrowed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, many people don't.
Like we don't even really stop to ask ourselves, like, why do I even want this? Yeah. Right. We have this plan, we grow up, we do this, we do X, Y, Z, and then I made it in life. And we never rarely stop to ask ourselves the reason why. And as a yogi, being able to show up in your own way, no matter where you are, no matter where you're beginning, but really showing up is that first step, the awareness. So you know what they actually say is the highest level of intelligence? It's called metacognition. So it's when you think about what you're thinking about. Just a food for thought.
I heard you have a hot take on Ayurveda.
I do. So anyone who knows what Ayurveda is, it's a science of life. And it essentially is looking at your body and your space from perspective of temperature, of baselines, of predispositions. Okay. So that's just a really quick summary of it. Look, research more on Ayurveda if you want to know more. But we've got 3 essential categories in Ayurveda. Okay. We have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, right? And so just an overall view, just so I'm not going into this because obviously it could be a deep dive. Kapha is earthy, so that's very grounded earth. Pitta is fire, okay? And Vata is air. All right, so just to mention that. And so whenever people start talking about Ayurveda, they want to know what they are. What's my predisposition? Am I fire? Am I air? Am I earth? Okay. And my hot take is, I don't think you probably have a disposition where you tend to go to, but I think every single day you are probably, and even throughout times in the day, you're probably in a different space.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So for example, I think when I get up in the morning, I'm more Vata. Like very much more, right? I'm not grounded at all. I have nothing really driving me from behind. And then throughout the day, as I pick up more tasks and I do more things, I notice I predispose to Pitta. But again, you were talking about being a mom, and it creates an environment where people feel like they have to go and they have to drive and they have to lead, right? And then at the end of the night, when I'm sinking into my bed, I'm definitely more kapha. Like I'm definitely more grounded. I want to be aware of my space. When I'm doing yoga, I am much more kapha. like then versus me, like me in this podcast right now is going to be a very different version of me that you receive in the yoga class. Because in the yoga class, the first thing I do and the first thing I cue is for my students to ground themselves and to really become connected and one with the earth. And so my hot take is that I don't think we are any one thing, or, as they say, like a combination of things. I think that throughout the day, we tend to migrate from different, baseline to baseline.
Yeah, actually, that is true. Even for Tamasic, Sattvic, and Rajas, those three components, you keep changing throughout the day, how things shows up in the day, and that's true. It's just that you can be one dominant at that particular time.
Yeah.
So
Or most of the time.
or most of the time, yeah. So definitely, that's, I think, a good one. Are you ready for rapid fire?
Let's go. I'm here for it.
Vata, Pitta, or Kapha? Can't sit still.
Oh, that's going to be Pitta.
Always checking the clock.
That's not going to be Kapha, because Kapha is more grounded. Pitta is so, I feel, busy with what they're doing. They're so go-go. I'm going to say it's Vata.
Loves routine.
Kapha.
Competitive.
Pitta.
Creative.
Vata.
Procrastinates.
Okay, so this is a tough one, because Kapha is going to be so settled that they're going to, I don't even know if that the word is procrastinate. They're just not in a rush. Whereas Pitta is so driven and so on their own agenda that they'll tend to put anything off that isn't part of their agenda in that moment.
Overthinks.
I would say probably Vata.
Gets irritated when things aren't done correctly.
Not Kapha. That is probably Pitta.
Yes. Loves sleeping in.
Oh, Kapha.
Changes plans constantly.
I'm gonna say Vata. Vata. Yeah. There's so many overlaps between some of these as well. That's why I say it's hard to categorize yourself as one.
It's definitely, I think some of the tests that Ayurvedic doctor do,
Yeah.
they do categorize you like in terms of percentage.
Right. Yeah, in terms of percentage. But again, even that's for fun. And like imagine, because when we did our test during YTT, during yoga teacher training, we did what we thought we might have been when we were born versus how we are now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And actually for viewers and for you also, probably you don't know, I was born asthmatic, severely asthmatic. Yeah. I wouldn't go to school in winter time for 5 months, and Ayurvedic treatment, it healed me, and I do not get, like, so far, if I get cold, it's very hard to go, but I don't even get cold that often. Like maybe, I don't remember, like COVID, I had it in 2022.
You did.
But I do not fall even sick. Like, yeah, I don't.
And also you have that purpose, right? So you have this purpose of running the yoga studios, and
also I take care of myself. That's so amazing. I think my immunity is always
because
good.
You were in corporate before too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
18 years.
Right? Okay. So this is the thing. I love working with Ajnavi because Ajnavi gets it. Ajnavi gets, exactly what it means to, try to focus more on yourself and your body and the healing properties that has. Anyways, I just had to mention.
What it means to transition from comedy to yoga, because these two are so disconnected.
Yeah, they really are, but they're not. And I'll explain. I'll explain they're not. So I did stand-up comedy for 3 years. 3 years purely, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
can you put up a show for our members?
I could. You won't like it. You won't enjoy it, but I'll do it, okay? But what I noticed is comedy is very difficult, because when you do stand-up comedy, you have to go up on stage in front of a lot of people. Nobody wants to hear you. Mostly it's other comedians, and they don't, they want to wait for they're just waiting for their time. So you're really talking to a room almost like into a black space, okay? Some people enjoy it, some people don't. I'm going to tell you 2 stories, okay? One story was, there was another South Asian young woman in the audience one time. And I was telling a story. It was about, Halloween and how my mom didn't know to send me to school with a Halloween costume. And this woman sitting in the front said, "Oh my gosh, it's like therapy," because she could relate, right? She could relate to that. And that was a little moment of clarity for me when I saw this woman being able to relate and feeling healed from that. Is that that's how yoga is that, you come to a yoga class to do the stretches and you do the moves too. But I guarantee anyone who's been to a yoga class will, with 100% certainty, tell you that they left the class feeling different from how they came. Okay. And that's what the environment of yoga does, number one. And number two, I crack a few jokes during my yoga classes for sure, especially when people are feeling a little bit strained or they're feeling like this is too hard for themselves. I'll crack a joke to lighten the mood. So I think it kind of helps. So it's really not as different as you might think. Yeah.
What do you have to say about wellness trend? Like, I have seen there is a lot of different wellness formats coming up in the market, and they all have different marketing verbiage. That's people having FOMO about, do this or that, this health, that health, whatever.
Yeah.
What is your take on those trends?
Yeah. My take is a couple things. So number one, it's trial and error. Okay. So depending on
Listening to your body.
listening to your body, trial and errors, and also what feels good in the moment. So I'll give weightlifting as an example. Okay. In weightlifting and weight training, we talk about muscle plateau. So maybe you're working your back or you're working your legs, and at some point you hit a plateau. You're no longer either losing your weight or gaining your goal or any of that. So it's time for a reset of some sort, right? It's important to change up your routine from time to time when you reach that plateau anyhow. So trial and error, listening to your body, doing what works for you is going to be the best thing for you. And ultimately, you're the person who knows what that is.
What is it you wish your student know about yoga?
Oh, this is a good one. So I wish my students knew to show up. Showing up is the single most important thing you can do for yourself. I don't care where you come from, where you are in your fitness, what you did all day. Okay. If you show up to your yoga class consistently, or any really fitness class consistently, you will see the magic happen. Coming to one yoga class, you'll get something out of it. I promise you will. But the real test is when you get up in the morning the next day and too many things popped up, or someone had a bad day, or you're having a bad day, or you just don't feel like it, and you show up anyway. The kind of self-esteem and growth that you gain from that level of consistency will absolutely surprise you.
I also have to share something. The day, for me at least, the day I don't have energy to go and do my wellness routine is all about yoga. That day I know that I have to drag myself up. And maybe if I have low energy, I'll do something that helps me push a little harder. And if I have hyper energy, then I'll do something that calms me down. So
I mean,
think
every day as a teacher,
Yeah.
right? I mean, teachers have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
We all have good days and bad days. But I will not miss that class because of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I can't teach this class because I'm feeling really sad today."
Yeah.
And every time I show up, regardless of how I'm feeling, I leave that class feeling so much better. And it's not just about what happened in the class itself. It's the harmony of the community within the class.
Yeah. And even in the class, like when everybody breathe together, you have a different drive, you have a different push to do things, right?
Yeah.
And in a spiritual world, it's so common to say that we listen to our mind way too much.
Yes.
So if we can come out of that comfort, because many times like members come, they like it and they buy classes.
Yeah.
And after a while, they're like, oh, I don't have time. So if you're listening to this,
Yeah.
if you have that syndrome,
Yes.
you know you have to push yourself to
You
show
do.
up.
It's hard. Anytime you establish a habit, it takes anywhere from 4 weeks to 90 days to establish a habit. So at the very least, give yourself 90 days.
90 days. Who inspired your teaching style?
Yeah, so many people, honestly. So I'll tell you a story. So when I was younger and I was in corporate, I was consistently doing 3 yoga classes a week. So
At work?
At work. So they offered it in the corporate gym, right? And the corporate gym is just next door. So that's a really convenient. So if they, offer some fitness, I really recommend, especially when you're young, do whatever you can, grab it, right? And then I took a break. So I had my 2 kids almost back to back. And I think I must have taken 5 years off or something. So at 5 years, no yoga at all.
Do you wish you could have taken?
I don't know. That's hard to say because I think I needed what I needed at the time. I think I needed what I needed. And again, listen to your body, right? But I came back to yoga after 5 years and I was scared. I was very scared because I thought to myself, oh my gosh, it's been 5 years. I don't even know this body because imagine after two children, body is completely different, right?
Yes.
And so I said, I don't even know this body. And my friend, thank goodness, she was so encouraging. She said, this is a gentle yoga class, restore. It was a restore class. This is a gentle yoga class, just show up, right? And that's exactly what I said earlier. Is showing up is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I went to that class consistently for about a month. It was just once a week. I went consistently for about a month. I cannot begin to tell you, not only did I come back to where I was in my practice prior to having children, okay, like 10, 15 years prior, I actually surpassed myself. And I ended up, it motivated me to get my yoga teacher training and it motivated me to become a yoga teacher. And now my practice is the strongest it's ever been. Yeah.
That's strong. I feel sharp pinch when I'm doing a pose. Is that normal or should I back off?
Yeah. So definitely back off. That's the short answer. The long answer, which of course I always have one, is when you're doing yoga, the best thing to do is go 80% in any posture. So however, whatever your max level is, go 80%, pull it back 20%, right? Because it's better for you to be consistent 80% than it is for you to push yourself and hurt yourself. There are certain pains that you know for yourself, okay? Whether or not that works for you. If it's something you're sore, you lifted yesterday, so your hamstring is sore, you know yourself best. But if you're feeling any kind of pain that you don't feel comfortable with it and you know your body best, immediately pull back. Now, I'll give you a specific example, pigeon pose, okay? So sometimes we do upright pigeon, we do forearm pigeon, and we do sleeping pigeon, okay? Maybe yesterday you were able to do sleeping pigeon, but today, for some reason, sleeping pigeon isn't feeling good. That's okay. Pull back. Maybe some days you know how to do crow, but today it's just not jiving.
Yeah.
Pull back. It's better for you to go 80% on the pose and show up the next day than for you to push 200%, injure yourself, and now you're off of your mat for 6 months or something. Yeah.
So give credit for showing up.
Yes, exactly. Show up at any level that you're at.
In the age of social media, we are knowingly or unknowingly chasing a more advanced poses that look picture perfect. What is the danger you see people doing it?
Yeah. So the obvious answer is that you don't know where your body is when you're doing that posture, right? The idea of yoga is to separate yourself from the idea, it's to separate yourself from ideas, separate yourself a little bit from your body, from the attachment, right? So this is a perfect example of separating yourself from the attachment of, oh, I want to do this ultimate pose. Now, if that's something you want to do and that's a goal that you have and you practice and you understand your practice and you have a guidance or a guide to help you through that practice, to help you open your shoulders or help you strengthen your legs or whatever it is, perfectly fine. But the danger in looking at the social media trends is that you can injure yourself quite seriously if you don't know where your body is. And so in my opinion, it's really important to, again, stay with your body, feel your body. What is it liking? What is it enjoying? Maybe some days it's not even a yoga posture. Maybe you need to shake your hips that day. Maybe you're really stressed out. You're holding some stress in your shoulders and your neck, and you just need to kind of shake it out a little bit that day. So I really encourage people to stay very connected to what their body's asking for. Yeah.
From wellness perspective, how do a consistent yoga practice help us age more consistently, where mobility is not an issue in later age of life?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about the biggest issues that people have, it's usually the hips, shoulders, neck, spine, right? And so in yoga, right out the gate, we start off every class with a pradapana practice. We start off with the 6 or 7 movements of the spine, the flexion, extension, the side to side lateral movements, and the twists, right? We also extend and space between our vertebra, right? So that's one aspect, is that we're keeping the spine moving. And the more you move your spine like that in those different ways mindfully, the more likely you are to replenish the fluid that's in your spine at night when you're sleeping. That's number one, right? Number two is a lot of the problems we see with older folks today who are having mobility issue. It's usually in the hips, the shoulders, the ball and socket joints, and this neck area. Okay. So when we're doing yoga, we're focusing again on mindfully moving these and keeping keeping these, open, keeping them going. We focus on doing hip things. So when we're doing a consistent yoga practice, we're inviting our body to, it's almost like that, you use it or lose it, right? We're inviting our body to use it so that we don't lose it.
So most of us sit in the office desk for a long time. What are the 2 poses or a small 5 minutes routine that you would recommend to the community?
Okay, hold my beer, hold my mic. Just kidding. Okay, here we go. All right, here's a couple of chair yoga practices for folks, okay, who have okay, I'll take this to you. Okay, so I'm in my chair. So I mentioned the 7 pranapana movements of the spine. So coming into your chair and doing a small cat-cow, tuck your chin, extend your spine, let your heart flare when you come up, okay? And then you're still in your seat. You can bring your arms up overhead, clasp your hands, and do a crescent seated posture, side to side. So lateral movement, side to side. And then again, simply in your chair, reaching your arms up, chair twist, either side, lowering your arms, gazing over shoulder, 3 times each side. Okay, so that's the pranapana movement in the chair. And then flexing and releasing your wrists, micro bend your elbow so that you're stretching your forearms each side, moving your ankles and your wrists. And then this chair doesn't particularly provide support for it, but a butterfly. I recommend a butterfly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you have to say about folks who is intimidated by yoga?
Yeah, that's a hard one because, we do, especially when you come to a class, you look at your neighbor and you say, oh, my neighbor is doing it like this. I should be doing it like that. Don't look at your neighbor. That's my recommendation. Don't look at your neighbor. Listen to your own body. And it's funny because we talk about yoking in yoga, which is to separate, but it's also a little bit of unification. So you're also really getting into your body. So even I kind of recommend, if you can, try to even close your eyes.
I close my eyes all the time. I don't see anything. I listen.
Right? Listen. So listen to the teacher for the cues. And then do the cues. And if you're like, wait, did I do that right? You can do a quick check and check the demo. But other than that, stay in your own body.
Also, if you keep your eyes closed, your brain release a lot of alpha wave.
Yeah.
So it's good anyway. And I make my yoga class a dynamic meditation. So I keep my eyes closed. I listen. I do not know. I'm just so fascinated with this whole yoga thing.
I know. Yoga's fun. Yoga can be fun. I mean, I think that there's so many dimensions to it because I think people come in for the Ashtanga, for the posture, for the movement, and that's important. I love the movement. I love the Ashtanga. But you can go, that's the cool thing about yoga. You can go as deep as you want, and you can stay as surface level as you want.
Yeah.
And there is something for everyone.
Yes, and for all ages.
For all ages, I agree.
Okay, so one last question. Yes. What is yoga to you personally?
Yeah. So I do a lot of different fitness, right? I do climbing, I do riding my bike, I do a ton of things. I weightlift. The difference between any of that and yoga is that when I come out of a yoga practice, it's usually community. So I'm usually in a classroom, I'm usually with other students, etc. And I'll tell you a story recently where I was in a class and I wasn't having a good day, but I was in a class doing breath work and we were doing the humming breath work. So inhale through your nose, exhale humming. Okay. And somehow me and like one of the other students, we started harmonizing. And that had never happened before in that class. And it was it was mystical. There was just this really magical, kind of flavor in the room because of it. And afterwards, I was almost like, did that really happen? So that's the difference between yoga and these other things, is that the community adds so much to it.
Thank you, Rimi, for sharing your time,
Thanks for
your valuable time with us, for our community, and for this studio.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for having me.